We'll look at Federalist 71, Part 1. As we've talked before, Federalists 67 through 77, Hamilton will be defending the provisions in the Constitution that relate to the office of the presidency, the office of whoever is going to be president of the United States. Because, as you remember, the anti-federalists consistently, continuously publish articles in the newspapers and say, in this case, a 4-year term for a president is too long. He can gather a lot of power in his hands. And that is not what we call a Republican form of government. Whereas Hamilton continuously says, no, we need energy in the government, stability in the government. Publius, Hamilton, Madison, and John Jay continuously say this. Say a government that has got its hands tied behind its back. When you authorize it to do something, it cannot do it. And then you, as a person living in the community, will lose faith in your government, and that will lead to disaster. So a government has got to be energetic enough, has got to have enough authority to do its job. In this case, a 4-year term for president will be good. We don't want to do what some states have done, like they elect a governor every year or every 2 years. He says 4 years is good because the president has got to know that one of the reasons is the president has got to get the impression that he is trusted and he is given this important office, then he needs to live up to it, to the trust of the people for giving him a 4-year term to serve. And as I'll read this here to you in a minute, and one of these paragraphs is very important because Hamilton does not hide what he thinks. He says, it is true, people are fountain of power, fountain of authority, but people can easily be fooled by cunning people that can mislead them. And if they ask of the president to do something that is not in their interests, if a president is going to serve only for 1 year, he's going to say, okay, I don't care. I'll just do whatever people want. Rather than saying, well, I'm going to be in office for 4 years. I'm going to stop this legislation that they want right now because they're not thinking about it correctly. And in a year or 2 years from now, they'll learn to appreciate what I've done. So it's another reason that we want a longer term for president, so that he won't have to bend to the passions and whims of the people because they've been misled. And he does say this here. So let me start reading it. That's one of the important things that you have to remember. He says, in a Republican form of government where you balance and separate powers, balance the power between the branches, judicial independence, and set intervals for elections. One of the things you do is you not only balance the branches against one another, but also remember that people can be misled. Passions might take over. So you want to make sure that, if not all of the branches, but at least part of the branches can feel secure enough to tell people, no, you're wrong right now. And this, in sense, is in the hands of, as we talked about it before, the Senate. The senators are elected for 6 years, and the president, who will be elected for 4 years, and then he can go for re-election, go up for re-election. So it wasn't until 1950s that they amended the Constitution for the president to be able to serve only 2 terms. Prior to that, you could have served more than 2 terms. So let me read it, and the second paragraph is the part that I was referring to. Duration in office has been mentioned as the second requisite to the energy of the executive authority. This has relation to 2 objects: to the personal firmness of the executive magistrate in the employment of his constitutional powers, and to the stability of the system of administration which may have been adopted under his auspices. With regard to the first, it must be evident that the longer the duration in office, the greater will be the probability of obtaining so important an advantage. It is a general principle of human nature that a man will be interested in whatever he possesses in proportion to the firmness and precariousness of the tenure by which he holds it. So if a president serves for 1 year, he says, I don't care if people make a mistake. I'm just going to be out of office, so who cares? It will be less attached to what he holds by a momentary or uncertain title than to what he enjoys by a durable and certain title. And of course, will be willing to risk more for the sake of one than for the sake of the other. This remark is not less applicable to a political privilege or honor or trust than to any article of ordinary property. The inference from it is that a man acting in the capacity of chief magistrate, under a consciousness that in every short time he must lay down his office, will be apt to feel himself too little interested in it to hazard any material censure or perplexity. From the independent exertion of his powers, or from encountering the ill humors, however transient, which may happen to prevail either in a considerable part of society itself or even in a predominant faction in the legislative body. If the case should only be that he might lay it down unless continued by a new choice, and if he should be desirous of being continued, his wishes conspiring with his fears would tend still more powerfully to corrupt his integrity or debase his fortitude. In either case, feebleness and irresolution must be the characteristics of the station. So if a president serves for a short term, he either says, I'm going to be out of office, I don't care, I'll just listen to whatever they say, even if they're wrong, or he might choose to be corrupted. He might say, okay, since I'm going to serve for a short term and I want to stay in office, I'll do whatever somebody offers me, some money or something in the future, or maybe the group of senators or representatives say, we'll work with you, kind of you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and get corrupted this way. He says that's why you want at least a 4-year term for the president. Now, if you read the records of the Federal Convention, on June 18th, Hamilton gives a long speech. They say 4 or 5 hour speech. And in that speech, he goes way, way too far. And he talks almost like he wants to give, he wants the senators to be elected for life. He wants the president for life. And people say, no, wait a minute. So when he says 4 years, he would rather have had a president serving for life or for 10 years or something like that. So keep that in mind. And in the next paragraph, he straightforwardly says that you can't trust the people all the time. Even though they're the fountain of power in a Republican system, they are the one who are going to ratify this Constitution. But passions take over, and people don't think reasonably at all times. So he doesn't. He's not going to tell people, "You all are wonderful at all the time." If you choose members to go to the House of Representatives, they're going to be all great all the time. He's going to say, "No, we need a president that serves for a long time. So in case somebody fools you and gets you to elect them to the House of Representatives or to the Senate and promises you something that is not good for you, a president has got to be able to say, no, I'm going to veto that law. I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that law doesn't go into effect because it is not good for the long term." So keep that in mind. That's why we have checks and balances, separations of powers. It's not just that senators are corrupt all the time, or members of the House of Representatives, or the president could be corrupt. It's just that sometimes people are so thinking about things with passion rather than reason. And when the representatives try to reflect the will of the people, these other branches should be able to check each other and not let bad laws go into effect. We'll continue with the second paragraph and the second part of Federalist 71 in just a little bit.